Hello everybody. Welcome. Hey there, hi there, ho there. Welcome to the stream. As usual, I come crashing on in after a busy day, but a good day. Good day, I would say overall. I hope you're all having a good one too. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. So, welcome to WagWorksGA. I'm Jeff. I am the G in GA. The A is my wife, Ashley. We are a creative duo who also are married to each other happily, and we work on kids' graphic novels. So we're on that journey towards all those good things, agents, publication. We've got some stories we really love. But here you'll see me sometimes working on those projects. Sometimes you'll see me doing slice of life comics, which I love doing. I've been doing that since I was a wee little one. And sometimes I'm doing fan art, which is what we'll be doing tonight. I'm excited to get into our project tonight, finishing up our submission for the Pokemon trading card game Illustration Contest. So I'm pretty stoked about that. I think we came up with a pretty good idea. I wish I had time to do more submissions. We can do up to 3, but I'm gonna get one in. That's where we're at right now. Don't mind me, I'm just bringing up my chat window real quick. Yeah. So our daughter started doing track and field, and the practices are in the evening. And so our Thursday nights are now much slower than they used to be, or much later than they used to be when I started streaming. But it's good. It's good. Hello? So I have a new hairdo, is that... Oh, I like it. Look at that. I don't know, Ash, what do you think? Should I stick with that? Style it that way forever now? I'd do it. You know I would. You know I would. Kapow. I've never seen that emote before, but I love it. And, just a second. Oh, goodness gracious, what am I doing? What am I doing? Is it just kapow? Can I? I was gonna be obnoxious with the emote, but you know what? It turns out I'm trying to do something else at the same time. There we go. Okay. Well, that's good at least. I got that part going. Thanks for bearing with me, everybody. What can I just randomly be obnoxious with in chat? Let's see. Let's see. Cracking myself up, apparently. Whee! It's just geese. It's just geese everywhere. It's good times. I will never get tired of the emotes on screen in my overlay. Good times. Good times. So, I could just chat forever, but that's not very productive when you have an art goal and a deadline for submission coming up on January 31st. So let's go ahead and get started on our warm-up as soon as I actually open Clip Studio. There we go. So yeah, Clip Studio Paint, that's what I use for my digital art. I love it. It's great. It's wonderful. I've been using it for several years now. It has amazing tools, especially for comics and manga creation. But overall, it's just got a really solid suite of tools for all your Photoshoppy, Illustratory needs. Good. Okay. We'll hop over to our Clip Studio Paint window. So warm-up time. What we always do here on this stream is we draw Pokemon to warm up with, which is, you know, we're drawing Pokemon for the actual main piece that we're working on tonight too. But that's not always what we do. And so what I like to do is I've picked out, what, 4? 5? Just 4 tonight. 4 Pokemon cards from just what we have laying around the house, and I'm going to randomly pick one of these. Our candidates tonight are Stufful, Psyduck, Farfetch'd, and Farfetch'd. Yeah, anyway, and Smeargle, and this one's shiny. Whee! Okay, so I'm gonna pick one of these randomly, and that's gonna be our warm-up. And we're gonna spend 5 minutes doing composition and just rough sketch layer for that. It'll be a good time. You should draw along. That'll be nice. All right, so you, and we got Stufful. I love Stufful. It's a good one. All right, so I'm gonna pull up a reference here. Oh my gosh, I'm having flashbacks of collecting all the bugs for Blathers with this music. The number of hours I spent on my bus commute in Animal Crossing is kind of ridiculous, but also happy times. Okay, where's our, what are we gonna use for our reference here? That'll work. So go ahead and paste this in. So here is our reference layer. I'm gonna make sure I label my layers. For me, that is extremely helpful. And 90% of the time, it will help me remember not to draw on my reference layer. The other 10%, you know, it happens. But that's just, you know, I've come to accept I'm at least once in the stream gonna draw on the wrong layer. And that's okay. That's okay. All right. So, timer is good. Yep, so I'm just gonna hop in. Feel free to draw along if you're watching. I highly encourage it, in fact. You don't even have to draw Pokemon. You can draw whatever you like. Just get that arm moving, make a mark on your paper or your computer monitor. If you're doing a computer monitor or a tablet, you know, use a stylus or maybe a mouse. I don't recommend drawing with your screen, with a pen on your screen, but just draw along, have a good time. It's fun. All right, 5 minutes starts now. Here we go. Okay, so I always start with, you know, a sketch layer. And you don't have to do, not every artist does this. Some artists will just jump like right into their lines. And that's a great way to do it. This lets me focus on composition first and kind of figure out the big pieces of what I want to do before I start getting into nitty-gritty details or choosing final lines or anything like that. And this is kind of a traditional comics workflow. You've got a sketch or a rough, you've got a pencils layer that tightens it up a little bit, and then you've got your inks or your final lines where you pick your favorite lines, you darken those in. That is your line art. So you'll notice my brush is fairly gigantic here, and that is 1,000,000% intentional, because what I want to do with this is get myself not looking at details but looking at the big shapes, getting the composition down. I'm actually going to pull out the card real quick because I wanted a little bit more reference for the size and shape of the body. It's kind of obscured here. So you can kind of see that there. I'm just going to lay it right here so I can see it on my table. Yeah, so I don't like to get too hung up on the details. I'm focusing on composition. I'm focusing on big shapes. I'm focusing on what the pose is. And the pose, my nearly default setting for Pokemon Warm-Up, the constraint that I like to put on myself to let me focus on other parts of the piece is I like to make my Pokemon be very sleepy, and they are always sleeping. Almost always sleeping. Unless I have like a really funny idea I want to try for something else. My ears are a little bit bigger, really, in relation. That's a little too crazy there, Jeff. Let's be realistic. Kind of got that bean shape. And then like, what is the deal? What is the deal with the tail here? It's like a tanuki tail. Okay, raccoon tail. So here's this. So we got these. These should be roughly symmetric along the axis of the face. There's that. Okay. These are a little more feather-like. Not quite as wide. Make my eraser a bit bigger. Hey Jeff, you have hotkeys. Did you know? Cool. Cool, cool, cool. Okay. That's good. So we got kind of the maybe snoring, maybe some snoring going on here. Here's our nose, and the eyes kind of extend out there. Got this ring around the face-ish. Maybe I'll back that out a little bit. Something like that. These legs are a little bit more squared off at the bottom, but still pretty round. Get the stripes on here. So the arms are different color than the main body, and the legs also are a bit different color, so they're gonna come like this. And maybe we put them on like some sort of tree branch or something. Something like that. Put a branch coming up here. All right, and that's pretty okay for a sketch layer. So I'm gonna start on pencils. I don't believe there's a whole lot of time left, but we can get a start on it. So I'm gonna drop down. Hey, there we go. All right, so that was 5 minutes. It always flies, right? I will just go ahead and maybe do a little, get this detail on the ears. Okay. Pencils down. Pencils down, Jeff. Come on. So this is okay. So as I've said most of the time, this is a workable sketch, and that's really all the goal is here. And in fact, it's a warm-up, so it could honestly be terrible, and that's okay. Because the point isn't to create that masterpiece, to get everything right. It's practice. It's getting my brain fired up. Getting some of the early jitters out before we move on to the piece we've already invested a lot more time in. And I would be okay coming back to this, right? Like, I feel like there's potential here. I would probably come back and make composition tweaks and things like that. You go through a lot of refinement as you make subsequent layers. But this is workable. It's a workable start. And that's all we're really going for. That's it, if you think about it. So if you worked alongside, how did it go? How did your art time go? I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it inspires you to continue just doodling or doing whatever along tonight while we're working. Usually I like to come and work for a cool hour or two here before I have to call it a night. The mornings are always much earlier than I wish they would be. Not that they're super duper early, but I'm naturally a late person, in case you couldn't tell from me going live at like 10 o'clock at night and not just constantly, being unintelligible because I'm so tired. Yeah, so hey, let's jump on in. I'll spare playing the video this time like I have like every other time we worked on this, but Pokemon trading card game has an art contest, don't you know? an illustration contest. Most years, most of the recent years, they've run it, and it's really cool because it's your chance to submit your art to get on one of these guys. Yeah, not so bad. It's cool. Lots of people enter. Lots of amazing, incredible, wonderful, brain melting artists enter. So it's a very competitive field. But you know, I draw Pokemon every stream anyway, so I'm like, well, hey, let's just go ahead and try it. And it's been a lot of fun. So they had 10 Pokemon that you could choose from. I looked through and picked out about what, 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 6. 6 of them I liked, and I worked out these 8 thumbnails. I did a couple different takes on 2 of the Pokemon. These thumbnails were kind of rough compositions to see what I could do, what would be fun to play with this Pokemon, based on reference art, based on Pokédex entries, based on the existing cards out there, which Pokemon Company very kindly organized in a easily checkable format. Going from there, I just kind of picked out 4 of my favorites and went to the pencils phase. So this is not quite final line art, but closer, getting there. Some artists do very loose pencils. I like to do pretty close to final pencils, and that is because of pen pressure. If I've made decisions about the details and where all my lines are going to be, then when I'm drawing my final lines, I can come in and pay more attention to pen pressure. And different brushes are going to handle that differently. Some will, I can just do this on here. Some of them will give you a, different thickness of line. It'll taper, you can do real thin. I'm not changing anything about my brush, I'm just changing how hard I'm pushing, right? Some brushes will tend to go more with opacity. This one is a paint, it's a simulated paintbrush, so it's not 100% opacity at max anyway, but you can see it's more just the transparency. And some, like the design pencil that I like to use, will do a little bit of both. So the line tapers a little bit, but the line also gets a lot more opaque as you push down harder. So, and that's great. It lets you do all sorts of stylistic things that really mimic like what you would do working with a pencil, which is, what I've done most of my drawing in my life with. But I find it easier to decide on where my lines will be. Where my lines will be. That was weird. Where my lines will be, so that I can focus on my pen pressure when I'm doing my final lines and make sure that I'm satisfied with that. So we did Bidoof, and that was a cute one, and I liked that one, and it was good. And I did for Alligator. This was another one that I had a lot of fun with. Near and dear to my heart. I might finish this piece later just for fun anyway, because I do love it. I love where it was going. Flygon, which is a little bit rougher pencils, as you can see, but I think I got the composition pretty well defined in there. The Eevee I'll come back to anyway in a second, and the Eevee was the last one. So there we go. And I had a vote on those 4 on my Instagram at WagWorksGA, and we got to this one. We got to the Eevee. Eevee was the number 1 choice, thanks to a tiebreaker from Ashley. The other option was Bidoof. And so I laid down flat colors and did some shading last time. And this is where we're at. And the level of finish I'm looking to get to, like, this is, this would be more what I do for like a slice of life comic or something like that. I still have some shading to do in the background. It's not shaded or anything yet. But for pieces like this, I did a donation piece for Games Done Quick. And that one I did a little more level of finish with. Okay. And I'm really going for that. I don't have it super handy right now. Just a moment. Just a moment. I'd love to share it with you. Yeah, that's the one. And it is ginormous. Oh my goodness. So I should note that I did it as like a 16 by 20 gallery canvas wrap, gallery wrap canvas print. So it was gigantic. So I'm having to adjust it here to show you. I'm just in my other window over in OBS. You, yes, you. Here it is. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, so this is the level that I'm looking to kind of finish this one out to, with this style of shading. Something just like that. So that's where we're going. And we're well on our way tonight. And we're gonna try to finish it out. I may do a little work this weekend to finish it out. I do plan on finishing and submitting this before next week's stream. Because next week's stream will be past the deadline. I was like, wait, is it at the deadline? Is it past the deadline? Which one? Yeah, it'll be past the deadline by next week. So yeah, we're gonna be done with this. And what I'm thinking is, I've done Lunar New Year pieces. We're an adopted family. Our son we adopted from China, so we do try to observe the Lunar New Year and kind of keep a piece of his heritage intact. So we celebrate that, and so each of the last several years I've done an illustration of the zodiac animal for the upcoming year that's starting. So we'll be looking at our pieces for Year of the Dragon starting next week. At least that's my plan. Unless I have like a lightning bolt inspiration moment and change something else out. Lightning bolt with my crazy plant hair coming up behind me. I don't know. Bum, bum, bum. Bum, 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 bum. All right. So I've separated everything out pretty dramatically into layers at this point. And I have a reason for doing that. You know, I could do everything with just lines on one layer, flat colors on another layer, shading on another, and play with it that way. I mean, you could technically just do everything one layer, and that's great. And sometimes it's really nice to simplify all that. But if you want to animate something later, then it's actually kind of nice to have it all on different layers. This is why, if you're noticing over here in my layers, I've got so many folders of layers, and everything is kind of separated out. And that's to give myself the flexibility to go back later and animate it if I want to, because I had a lot of fun. If you've watched the stream before to the end, you'll know that I've got like an animation for stream ending, and I really liked doing that one. That was fun. I'm learning. I'm learning how to do animation in Clip Studio. By the way, that's another awesome thing that Clip Studio Paint does. By the way. I was like, well, this is kind of one that I love, and Umbreon's my favorite Pokemon, so maybe I'm gonna animate this later. So maybe I want to split it all up. Thinking forward, it is much harder to split it out later into separate layers if you don't do it at the beginning. Curtain shadows is what we're drawing right now. We're in the shading phase, so you'll see everything in the foreground right now. I do have shaded. The Eevee, the Umbreon toy. But also, the magic of having them on separate layers is I can make them magically disappear. Oh man, why didn't you color in? What's your deal? Oh, it was almost magic. It was almost magic, guys. I'll fill that in when I get to that layer, though. So we've got kind of a Another thing on your WagWorks bingo card, if you haven't watched before, you might not realize that apparently my greatest kryptonite is drawing straight lines. So you'll see me struggle to do that. Don't worry, this is normal and everything is fine. And you may be thinking to yourself, Jeff, why would you worry about drawing straight lines when you can simply use the straight line tool or rulers? Or hand draw it and then edit the vertices so there's only the endpoint on one side and the endpoint on the other side. And I would say to you, yes, you're exactly right. I actually prefer to not always have my lines perfectly straight. I do draw some with rulers, like you can see the windowsill here. I didn't freehand that. Shocking admission. But there is a certain beauty to not perfectly straight lines. It gives, and this is not just my opinion. This is based on a critique from a teacher that I got from in a graphics novel intensive that we did, and I really valued it because I think, you know, I used to get every line like had to be the straight line, or I'd use the curved ruler to get it just so. And one, that's super time consuming and kind of obnoxious to do. Two, it can kind of suck the life out of it if especially if everything else is kind of nice and hand-drawn and has that organic feel to it, and then you do these like perfect straight line edges everywhere else and perfect curves. It can be a little jarring, in fact. Come on, there we go. Is that close enough? I might bring you down a little bit in size. Yeah, we can do. What was the name of that window again? Navigator. Not helpful. Oh, how late? Ugh. What did I do to myself here? What I wanted to do is take this navigator pane and pop it out. There we go. And now I can make you back to the way that the size I like you. And now I can just resize you to be, you know, up here. And maybe if I'm just coloring over on this side, I can do this. And now everyone playing along at home can see what I'm doing on the big picture. It's a little bit in the way for me, but I can handle it. And honestly, it is a little bit helpful sometimes to get a view of the big picture. Okie doke. Too much. And this is why you learn to pick your hand up occasionally in between strokes when you're doing like filling in large areas. Because guess what happens if you go astray and you have to undo? Yep. You lose all of it. I will say I've reached the stage of digital art, of working with digital art, where now sometimes when I'm drawing on paper and pencil, or drawing with paper and pencil, I'll try to do the pinch, and I'll also try to undo. I meant like my hand will start to reach for the Control Z. I'm like, oh, No, you can't. You have to erase that, bud. Still good there. See where things line up. If I put the foreground in, yeah, this is gonna cover up. Eevee's gonna cover up a lot of it, but still. Now, I mean, another piece of this is I could work a little cleaner here and just draw the boundaries of the area that I want to fill and fill it in. Sometimes I get so into like the sort of zen flow of things. I don't know if that's the word for it. That I forget, like, oh right, you can do things faster. I made this kind of noisy because I also had anti-aliasing on. Anti-aliasing is the thing that makes some of the pixels around the edge of your brush a bit transparent, and it looks real nice, but if you're defining a shape that you're trying to fill in, it's not wonderful. What is... I don't know if y'all are seeing this. I'm getting some interesting pixelated artifacts popping up on my screen here. Oh, who knows? Can shade this one a bit more. Since it's more removed from the light source anyway, pick up your pen, Jeff. There we go. Thanks. Nice job. Oh, you're welcome, Jeff. That's very nice of you to say. Okay. I mean, there's not really that much to shade on this color, on this layer, so moving right along. Okay, really just a couple layers to go on the shading, on this first cut at shading. I'm wondering, I'm probably gonna have a little work to do outside of stream. Well, we'll see. I'm gonna potentially, probably, most likely go to midnight. Yeah. So if that's the case, then there should be some time to get in there and really make things shine. But we're just gonna see, what am I doing? Who am I? What's my name? Let's touch this up a little bit here. This is all going to be behind the Eevee, even probably in an animation, but you never know. So it's nice to just have it all solidified there. Fix that. And we'll add floor, wall, window, shadows. We're gonna set our layer to multiply. So it's not just overlaying the color flat on top, it's actually kind of doing some math with the RGB or hue saturation value numbers to transfer some of the properties in a way usually that ends up darkening or saturating and intensifying your what you're seeing of the flat colors underneath. I like to do this in combination with doing an oop, that is not my shadow color. Yep, there we go. There we go. let's just bump this up a little bit. Now I know that I'm still using a brush that has no anti-aliasing on it. And so this edge looks a bit more jagged than you'd usually like to see. But that's okay. Because I do intend to smooth out the shadow edge anyway. So it doesn't really matter. And if I leave it in this, I'm more likely to still have it in this when I do the thing that I did before and try to define an area that I want to fill. And I'm like, oh no, it's all anti-aliased and it's harder to fill. Not today. Well, not anymore today, for now, ish. You know what I mean. Maybe a little bit more, follow the borders of the floor. What do I want to do here? In reality, there would usually be a little ground shadow. Maybe do like, but it'd be more from the light of the window anyway. Something like this. Oh, do I want to do that? So what I'm thinking, it's like, oh, I can have like a ground shadow, right? So you'd see the window, you know, it'd frame somewhere, probably come through somewhere here-ish. Hold up. Like here-ish. Right. And then it would kind of, you know, come out like this. I might do that as a secondary shadow, actually, and not do this in this first shadow layer. I sometimes like to combine shadow layers to kind of, and I've seen this done. This is something I actually picked up from watching other artists. Is like you can use it to represent different types of shadows. So you've got your occlusion shadows, you know, usually occur especially where objects meet each other, and then you can have your primary light shadows, your kicker light shadows, all that stuff you can do. Usually I don't get more complicated than a couple shadow layers and maybe a gradient. Because the vision I have for this is that this will be even darker. I set up some multiply layers to mess around with the overall final tone to give it that nighttime feel. But just trying to figure out how much I want to put in on the initial shadow layer, because I could just do this, you know, where everything is kind of shaded. Oh, I do really like that. I do. I like that. Okay. Onward we march, and if I hate it, I can always laboriously change it later. Then what you'd also have usually is like, the moon is kind of coming in like this, so you'd have kind of the crossbars here. Maybe I won't worry about when to go slow and do it actually a little bit tighter. I'm a little bit more janky on my lines tonight than I usually like to be, but it's okay. It's okay. I'm just gonna say, you know, busy day, tired, lots going on, and that'll be fine. Okay. So then I will also have a little bit of shadow. Then here, which I'll smooth up. Okay. Oh. Janos, hey, sorry, I was so into it, I was not looking at chat. How's it going? Here's what I'm thinking. Glasses, googly eyes, profit. Yes. That's how you do the did we didn't do because the do didn't did. You know, honestly, I'm glad we're back to this. It's very enjoyable for me. How's it going? Welcome back. It's good to see you. Oh, well, you know what I could also have just done? Ugh. Come on, Jeff. Set you as reference. Select you. Okay. Right, because I was coloring behind the curtains. Okay. Good to remember that. I'll fix that in just a second. Okie dokie. Okie dokie. What are we set to for this gradient anyway? Foreground to background. That'll work. That'll work. Maybe. Maybe. Actually, maybe I want something more like this. Nope, that wasn't quite right. Okay, like that better. I'm glad we're not back to this. I valued my brain cells. Doing okay, very tired. Yeah, me too a little bit. It's just life is real busy, you know? Yeah, it's just been real busy lately. Full. But not in a bad way. I mean, there's, you know, some medical stuff, and that maybe I could do without, of course. But otherwise good. Just trying to always do all the things always. To varying levels of success. Oh, that was on the flats. Wrong layer. You know, I am being a little bold and actually putting my gradient on the actual layer and not separating it out. Look at that. Yeah, thanks. Thanks. You know, I'm just gonna fill this because that would be shadowed. Yeah, no? What's happening there? That's probably in flats. Okay. Get you. Couple little jaggy spots. Not a big deal. I will use this opportunity to fix the flats layer, whatever's going on over here. Yeah. And erase you out. Is it faster to hotkey if you have to stop and look at your hotkeys? That's what I want to know. So yeah, Janice, how's work been? I know it sounds like it's been a lot lately. At least last time we spoke. So, okay. Excuse me, and I can shade that out a little bit. I think I'm okay with that. I think. What is going on with this layer here? That looks... Don't know why I decided to growl at my... That's not going to do anything. Wait a minute. There we are. Well, then this layer shouldn't matter at all anyway. Okay. Okay. I convinced myself that I didn't do something tragic. That's good. But I don't know where... Is that just a hole in the... in here? No, it's coming from somewhere. Not here. Here? Wow, okay. Didn't expect that. Cool. Well, we figured that out, guys. We did it. Just touch up this edge a little bit. Yep, yep. So close. No, that's not quite what I'm going for. Alright. Okay, that's good. Having this little bit of like unshadowed part is a little confusing to my eye, and so I'm gonna tidy it up just to keep things consistent right at that bottom edge. Yeah, no, not there. No, not there. That's good. Okay. So when we put this back in with our foreground. I guess my only thought is like, oh, well, with the crossbar of the window, then it would cast a shadow on Eevee's face. Which could be super dramatic, or it could look super janky. So I'm debating whether I want to do that, maybe? I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm gonna just avoid it until I have to deal with the idea. So, moving on. We're gonna add some shadows to some clouds. And what kind of layer mode do we use? We use multiply. Whee! Okay. Right, and actually, you can go away. That's so weird. I did it, and I still find it weird. Okay, okay. Again, it's okay if our lines are a bit pixelated here, because we're going to smooth them out anyway. That is 100% the plan. So it's not actually any extra work. Like that. You know, we can probably just fill in that last little chunk anyway. It's pretty good. And the moon is not illuminated from the inside itself. It's actually just, you know, a reflection of light from the sun. So we're, you know, there could be a little bit of a tone to it, a little shape. So I'm going to give it just this bit. This transition zone where we go, what is, oh goodness gracious. I'm getting some really interesting pixelation on here that I don't usually get. So I'm very curious about what's up with that. Stream Elements Live is like, you should have updated. It's okay. We got this. And then it's just, yeah, I'm gonna smooth that out so it'll gradient out a bit and give that smooth transition. So after our first pass at shading, here's where we're at. And we're getting there. And again, remember that we're gonna have a multiply layer over the top. I'm actually gonna do a little bit differently. I may even do something where the outside sky itself is not illuminated, but this is the direction we're going very shortly. I've added a highlight layer on Eevee and Umbreon, and I should add a little bit. I'm not going to go too intense because following this, we want the most contrast, the most difference between light and dark to be where we want to draw the eye. So I'm talking about the light sky and on Eevee and a little bit on Umbreon. So I don't want to add too much distracting contrast to the outside, but just a little bit of it to kind of get things, just kind of give it a little bit of a sense of depth. Still here, just went to do something. Well, hey, I'm glad you're here. Thanks for hanging out. Anything good going on? I mean, I'm hoping that that's the case, but. All right, we'll add a curtain highlights layer. And what I'll do is I'll borrow the same, actually I can just use the background layer, or I can just use this, the same yellow, the same light that I used for the Eevee highlights, but I will actually bring it down a little bit in value. Right now it's cranked up to 100, and I'm going to bring down the value so that, as I mentioned, I'm not adding too much contrast. This wonderful thing you're really excited for. Okay. Drum roll. All right. I'm doing my best. I hope this is a good drum roll. I'll keep it going. Gotta get a drum roll for this because we're looking forward to this. Looking forward to this for your whole life. Have this thing. Should I still do the drum roll? Tomorrow? Okay. Finally get to work. Oh. That was really well played. That was the most amazing build-up. That was incredible. It's like definitely like tip of the hat, I don't know, do people tip their headphones? That's ridiculous. That was incredible. That build-up was incredible. What a punchline. Kudos to you, my friend. I'll do soft light as well. So that should tone things down quite a bit. Maybe that's gonna be too much. So are you enjoying work though? Like I have to ask. You were, but at the moment, no. It kind of is kind of work. It's some things are satisfying, some things are not, and over time, it's real easy to get into burnout. Meh. So meh. I mean, there are worse places than meh, but it's also not the place you want to be living if you can avoid it. I know that's like obvious advice and not actually helpful. Pretty much, yeah. Maybe a little bit too much there. Turn it back. Alright, I think it's a challenge. Like, I don't know how long you've been in your job. I've been in mine for what, like 07, so 16 years now. About. Largely the same position. I mean, it's changed and grown in some ways over the years. I mean, I don't look at it as advice, but more as a general consensus, which you could argue makes you feel invalidated, but I take it with a perspective of, well, other people get it, I'm not alone in this, and if I ain't doing it alone, then it doesn't mean it's unbearable, so I can handle it. No, I think that's great. I don't think that's invalidating. I appreciate the thought and the concern for it possibly being, but no, I don't think it's invalidating. Like, I get it. I think sometimes, even if you like love your career, I think you can still get burnt out, right? Like, it's still easy to do that. Wait, what are you? Wait, that was weird. Which is why it's important to have like other things going on, right? Yeah, I agree. Some people can look at that's just work as a very invalidating thing. Yeah. Yeah, because it can be super duper dismissive if you say it like that, you know? But it doesn't have to be. Like, if there's a that's just work but or and, you know, I think it can be an acknowledgement and not a dismissal. That's what I guess I'm trying to say. I think, you know, it's... Why is my voice cracking so much tonight? Darn puberty. Yeah, it just... I feel like it shows the value of having other stuff going on that you care about. And it doesn't have to be like, in my spare time I'm a lion tamer or a tightrope walker, but just like something that you care about. And like, you know, there's lots of common ones. But just having that is super important. People have their own levels of suffering, and when you downplay it, well, you know. Then you have some workers who have it really easy and don't know it and complain all the time about every little thing, and you really want to put them in their place, but you don't because you decided to be a martyr and your mother raised you better than that. So you be the shining light they need, aka the vent bag. And while this may be too specific for me, not at all. Not at all talking about myself here, but I'm sure you get the idea, right? I promise I'm okay. I hope you're okay. I hope you're okay. But I mean, hey, if it helps to be here and talk about it, I'm happy that we can do that. and I agree very much, you know. But I think it's also dangerous to get too excited about comparing experiences. Like, I'm not saying I'm just complaining about a coworker complaining. That's okay too, you know, like yeah, I think there's definitely people who run their mouths a bit and they don't need to, and they don't realize how much other people are doing. But I think there's some complaints that are valid kind of regardless. I don't know. It's a tricky business, right? Because you would like to something, let me enlighten you as to what the rest of us are going through right now, right? Like, you want to do that. But also, you don't know their whole situation at home, or what they're going through, or, you know, it could be, even if your job is fairly easy, fairly good, like, it can be hard for you in other ways. And it's good to respect that, but it's also good for everyone to have some perspective on where they stand, and gratitude is a thing. It's a huge lack of empathy is the problem. Empathy is such a luxury nowadays. It feels like it's not as common as you'd like to see, and you know, it's a great point, right? Like, if I think being able to see things from someone else's viewpoint on all sides can be helpful. Your phone's gonna die. Do you need to plug in? Also, I take it that means you might be dropping out. If so, please have a good night. Get some rest. I hope that you really enjoy that huge thing tomorrow that you've been looking forward to all your life. Also, that was a pretty epic, what, debated? Is that what we call it now? I promise I'm cool. I don't know. So if you have to roll out, have a good night, get some rest. It's good having you here. Otherwise, you know, plug in and I'll see you soon. Maybe just a little bit on these corners. Yep. Straight lines. Why? Oh, yeah, that's what I did. Wait. Wow, I really zoomed out there. It's hard to work at this scale. Nothing's gonna try. It's all good. It's all good. Apparently, I'm just goofy tonight. You know, it happens. Hey, art director. I wish to inquire your opinion. It's a Bluey reference if anyone didn't catch. I'm from Ashley. You didn't hear it because the microphone's right here. I'm smart. Okay, so here's the deal. I was doing this kind of cool lighting and putting the crossbar in, and I like it. And then it occurred to me that the crossbar would also cast a shadow across Eevee's face. I could conveniently ignore that fact and try to pretend the light is somehow coming just through here and like not casting it on Eevee. Or would that be a cool dramatic detail? I can always test it out on a free layer and see.
If you do, just make sure you label your layers.
I do. Look at them. Look at all these labels.
I don't know. I kind of
Yeah.
Like that whole thing just
It doesn't.
has to look good.
Agreed. I was just trying to figure out if that'd be cool. Dramatic detail like that. I'm ready for my close up. I mean, and that's not the vibe I'm going for here either. Okay.
Also, you wouldn't want to like what's the word? Not manipulate, but I'm tired. Like manipulate the facial features with the shadow on it. It could look like weird.
Yeah, it could get kind of janky real fast. Okay.
But you can try.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Oh yeah, it's getting better even. I don't know. Oh no, I just think it's getting better because I've got more details that I'm adding. I'm continuing to work on this piece. Okay, good night. Love you. Apparently I'm like loopy tonight. Loopy. Loopy, he says. Alright. 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 Outside sky. Highlights. I can type with boxing gloves on. That was not my best strong bad impression. I don't know if anybody out there still watches Strong Bad Emails. I know they ported, I think, all of them over to YouTube. Ooh, I might actually go with a stronger light on this one. Maybe. Pull you. Yes. Alright, I'll pull the navigator back up just a second. Ta-da! In this case, this will be a little bit more of like a rim light situation going on. Whee! Sorry for that, like, really weird scroll over to what I was trying to actually work on. I'm sure that was real janky on the screen. Janky. And what I can probably do is... Okay. Oh, right. Boop. Oh, let's do. I mean, it's not a lot. Oh, hold up. I'm gonna do something just a little crazy. I mean, I could do hard light, or add glow for this one. Okay. Right. Okay, so at this point, I've laid down... Oh, I did want to fix one more thing here. This would come in here. Nope, not there. It would connect with the shadow more. Boop. All right, cool. And again, we'll be overlaying this. I will take it, make sure that the highlight layers and the moon are not multiplied. Yes. Okay, Okay. Okay. So now that I've kind of laid out the rough cell shading, with, you know, with the hard boundaries to the shadows, I'm going to start smoothing out the edges in both the highlight layers and the shadow layers, at least in cases where there's a more gradual shape, so you'd have that kind of gradient edge. I just like to use the smudge tool. Alternately, you can use something like an airbrush or a soft brush, but sometimes it's hard to match the exact the 100% opacity at the border, so sometimes you'll still get kind of a weird line in your shadows. So for me, I kind of like to go and repeatedly use the blend tool here to kind of soften the hard line. It helps if you do it on the layer that you're actually working on and looking at. So there you go. That's a great tip. And away we go. And again, there's some places where you still want a hard shadow. So I'm not necessarily going to soften every shadow, but the ones where it's clearly like a softer rounded shape, I'm going to go ahead and do that. Might actually come in then. The bigger one just to smooth that out a little bit. This is good. And what I kind of wish I'd thought of before is I have seen a lot of other digital artists do where they'll start with the darker color and lay like the highlight down on top and kind of naturally get that in there, which is a great way to do it too. But I guess if you come from a harder cell shading way of working, usually this is going to be a little bit more intuitive, at least at the start. Yeah. That might be a bit big of a brush size for this. Let's knock that down a bit more. I don't know if you guys are seeing these little pixelated jankies that I'm getting popping up here. That's different. I don't really like that. We'll just call them missing nose. And that'll be it. Newsflash, it died. Rip phone. Rip phone. Were you able to get it to a power source to resurrect it? Okay. Nonetheless, I am happy to see you back, friend. Yes, otherwise I need to go to PC, and I didn't feel like sitting in a chair when I have a perfectly good mattress. Yes. It's been a guilty pleasure for me as of late too, falling asleep either listening to stuff or watching stuff on Twitch on my phone. I don't know if that's great sleep hygiene, to be honest, but it's nice sometimes. Oh man, I've forgotten something big here. The ground shadow for my actual character. Goodness. Okay. Well then. Hey. It happens, right? Probably not. I don't plan on sleeping for a little while. Just chilling. Yes. It's, you know, I think Ashley and I like to call it like just having a little time to turn off your brain. And it can be super, super helpful. So actually just be kind of, gosh, I guess the shadow's just gonna extend all the way across from there. Gosh. Oh, yep, that's not gonna work now, is it? Because I want you to refer to, I did tell you to refer to other layers. No? Yeah. Right, Control Z. Control Z. What? All right, let's try this. Still not quite what I'm going for. I don't think either of us should do that, considering when we do that, we do a do, and I don't like to do, which I'm doing. I don't want to do this do, but you're making me do the do. You know what? I really appreciate the variation of that. I don't want to do this do. Oh, man. Is this talking about turning our brains off? Doing the do with the doing the did? We do the did when we don't. I can't. I just. Oh, so this is the prop. That's okay. I could do an alternate shadows layer. Maybe. No, it'll be fine. You know what? It'll be fine. That's what I'm gonna say. So I'm just gonna kind of cheat and rough in a line here and here, and also like here, which we're just not gonna see because it's behind everything, but it's gonna connect in and close all the gaps so I can just. Yay! Oop, that's not what I wanted. Wait, is that what I wanted? That's not what I wanted. Okay. Well, there we go. Well, that was a pretty glaring omission, but now we're good. Now we're good. Everything's great. On second thought, I'm going to keep my brain on. Thank you very much. Keep my brain on, comma. Thank you. It took me a second to parse that, even though I don't think there's anything incorrect about what you typed. You ever have those things? I was doing a code review today at my day job. And I was looking over a code review that my boss did. On a code, and honestly, kudos to him, because I wrote chunks of this when I was still learning Python, and it was great. He found a way to replace like a whole function that I wrote with a Python inline function that I didn't know existed previously. But then, like, looking at it, it read something like, if any I in cluster for cluster in clusters, and it was like, it was one of those things where it makes perfect sense in the language, but when you try to read it with your English speaking brain, it just kind of breaks it for a little while. You're like, Yeah. And then you get it. You're like, oh, okay. Do, 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 do. You know what I mean? That's probably not a very exciting story, but that was my day. That was my day. That and like the feeling of like, oh right, I was gonna, you know, make a PowerPoint for this idea I had so I could share it during the meeting that I have scheduled, and I totally had planned on doing it yesterday, and then I didn't, and then I woke up an hour before the meeting and like, oh, I need to do that. Cool, cool, cool. There's a lot of moments where I see or hear something someone says, and I go on this giant thing in argument on how they're wrong, only to midway through suddenly realize I completely read or heard wrong, and I become completely flustered and begin to contemplate whether or not to swallow that embarrassment and wave the white flag, or proceed to keep my narcissistic rambling and hopefully gaslight them into submission because I'm normally right anyways. I too have been known to miss important details and start responding first, only to find that my understanding of the initial situation was incomplete. Shocking, I know. But I do see your point. You can push on, and I call it deferred wrongness, where it's like they'll realize it soon enough and they'll point it out, but in that moment you can point it out and then play it off. That's not my ego. I'm just unnaturally and abnormally correct way too consistently. It's almost a superpower because I totally don't abuse the fact people put trust into that fact. And I'm also great at predicting scenarios because of it. Yeah? Okay, so would you say that you are kind of an intuitive then, naturally? Because what you're describing is actually kind of... I'm a great person, I promise. No, so what you're describing sounds a lot like if you follow like Myers-Briggs personality type stuff, which I was aware of from like a course I took in high school and then largely forgot about it for like X number of years, I'm not gonna say. And then like started stumbling on like the comedy videos about the personality types on YouTube. Like Frank James is like a big creator on that, and they're all very funny. So it got me like reignited on at least learning about it, and I do find there's some cool and interesting stuff to it all. But anyway, all that is to say, you're describing kind of one of the types very much in a nutshell. Because, you know, they're not infallible, but because of the fact that they tend to be very focused on picking up on systems and the way things work and connections and patterns, they're often develop a really good intuition for what's right. I wouldn't say intuitive because everything I do and say is based off of some form of logic and follow some sort of grounded and realistic philosophy and experience rather than instinctual preemptive assumptions. But what if the preemptive assumptions, the description that I've seen of the intuition in this specific context that I'm talking about, though, I think is intuition of what will happen based on what, you know, on experiences. and observations. I actually don't know if I want to soften up those so much. Can I leave that a little bit sharper? How can I do that gracefully? Maybe like that. That kind of works. In this context, you'd say yes, you're very intuitive. So yeah, it just sounds like yeah, like the INFJ is the technical personality type that I'm thinking of. I don't know, and I think it's interesting. I think because the Myers-Briggs is supposed to be an index of what cognitive tools of the ones everyone has kind of the same tools, but of the tools we have, like which ones do you tend to use, which ones have you developed over the course of your life, and so they're kind of your go-tos. So I find it really interesting, and I do like, okay, I see how this kind of can contextualize the different types of people you run into. And of course the thing is that there's variation. Nobody is the exact cardboard like cutout identical of another person, right? Everyone is in fact different. It's just that you do find certain patterns of thought and observation and interaction with the world that are similar. Anyway, it's interesting to me, and the videos are funny to me, so that's exactly what I thought of when you said that. Did you ask? Not necessarily, so sorry about that. It dawns on me that you did not ask. But often being right about things is, I think, usually a sign of solid intuition. I guess it could also be like deduction, or maybe not deduction, is it? I always forget which is which. At any rate, you're real good at seeing patterns and then applying them forward in time. I didn't ask, but I would have if you hadn't rambled on anyways. Yes! I'm helpful. Maybe. Ish. I'll just soften this real slightly. Or would I? Who knows? It's just a theory. A game to... Wait. Oh, wait. Oh, he quit. Great. Sorry, forgot. Alright, and I'm just going to move on to the highlights. Stick with getting the Eevee completed here first before we move on. Holy moly, how is it 11:30 already? What happened? Time, right? Try to sometimes smooth it out, but I also find that using the smudge blend, I've been using the wrong name, the blend tool can give a little bit of a painterly effect if you do kind of these even strokes. But don't worry about getting it perfectly smooth. I was gonna do that on the shadows of the eye too there. Not the eye shadow. But no, there's a pattern to everything, and the fun part is it's not just based off of a logic from my own experiences, but what helps is I find is my viewpoint on my unbiased psychological understanding of people. Is it possible to have an unbiased psychological understanding? I feel like it's hard to not be biased in some way, even if that's just because you don't have a huge sample. I don't know, just my thought. Happen to be, from my understanding, very psychologically adept, and to the point I regularly consider a career in therapy, except for the fact I want to keep what little sanity I have. Well, I will say I really appreciate your insights on things, and I do think you've got a really balanced and empathetic, but almost like I would say like wise, mature at least view of things, in my opinion, for whatever that's worth. Okay, we're getting there with the Eevee. I'm going to add some additional shadow layers to up the contrast and give it a little more dimension, but we're getting there. Maybe this moon doesn't need a line around it. I don't know. I know it seems hard. I know a lot of people say that, but I've never in all my years and hundreds of dialogue ever not just been understanding and unbiased, which again, empathy plays a huge role, yes. And it's a luxury no one has. And of course, the key role in this is dividing objectivity from subjectivity and monitoring your response to it. Yeah. Sorry, it's a pretty anticlimactic response, but yeah. Yeah. I think it's always interesting the number of people who don't make a distinction between their subjective opinion and the objective facts of things, which can be challenging. And I mean, I'm sure I'm guilty of the same thing occasionally too. I think it's, all in all, it's a pretty human thing. Not that we can't all try to do better. Okay. So I'm just gonna try this. Oh, that's not a highlight. I did that as a... Okay. Okay, Jeff. We're just gonna try this. Yep, that is too much blur. I'm having a thought. Sorry. As I stare blankly at the canvas, I'm rambling to the point it brings up is my depth understanding and how certain people think, and my ability to easily grasp onto the way others around me feel and act tend to help out with that intuition you described. Yeah. A fun and simple way to put it is I live in a world outside of myself. I don't say it to be boastful or prideful. It has downsides. I'm very bad at prioritizing myself, but I find it extremely entertaining to have long and productive and, of course, meaningful conversations about the human mind and all of its intricacies. Yeah. Yeah, and I guess that kind of insight, since like I think I noticed from the first night you came to chat here, and to be clear, I would tend to agree with you. I do agree with you. I don't need to qualify it. Like, I think you are very, you do carry a lot of empathy, and you do have a lot of observation and kind of the ability to kind of get a feel for where people are coming from. Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree with that. Alright, so I'm duplicating before I consider making any destructive edits, which, destructive edits are edits that change a layer in a way you can't just, get back easily. Yeah, that's the best way to describe it. So what I want to do here, I thought it might look kind of cool to have come over here. Pull my moon yellow. I am in this case going to, I'm probably still going to come in and just still going to smooth it out with the blend tool. We are kind of missing stars now that I think about it. I might just give myself credit and assume that I'm gonna like do a star or two in here and just kind of and Night sky eye reflection. I think at least I'll know what I'm talking about. I'm gonna play with the layer mode here. Don't want to overlay. No, I do not want to overlay it. That is not the right answer. Soft light, hard light, add glow. Ooh, I kind of really love that. Honestly, I might tone it down slightly. Oh, that doesn't look as cool when I tone it down. Okay, we can circle back to this. We can circle back. All right, I'll get the Umbreon toy as well, smoothed out, since I'm kind of in the vibe with that. Yeah. I think the worst part about it is that my own logic almost never applies to myself. Like, I can give someone advice or tell them exactly what's going on with them and why and how they can effectively change that or prevent something, but the moment anything about me tumbles and crashes, for some reason, suddenly I'm the one who needs the consultation. Yeah, I think in a lot of ways it's easier to look outward and see things with other people. Humans are complex beings, right? Like, and sometimes it's easier to see patterns from a distance than when you're living it. Because, I mean, this happens with, for example, art and writing. Like, this is why critiques and edits are so valuable. It's because we become blind. We know what we meant, and we have the picture in our head, and we've completed it to the best of our ability. But like, because of that fact, because we know what we meant, we fill in blanks mentally. And when we look at the piece, we don't always see it as it is on the paper. We see it as we want to see it. And that applies to ourselves too. Literally live in a world outside yourself. Absolutely. Which means turning that lens to look outward can be challenging. It's not always easy. And again, I think part of it's because, you know, we fill in blanks for ourselves because we know our intents or our hopes. You know. And sometimes we don't see, because of that, we don't see how that actually played out. I don't know. Just my thought. Exactly. Yeah, it's an interesting phenomenon, but I think it makes a lot of sense. Okay, so I'll just smooth out the shadow from Eevee's paw. And that can have a little bit of a firmer edge to it since it's from an object that's right there casting the shadow. Oh, this is the one that played earlier. I thought so. Do enjoy the Street Fighter 2 music mix. Okay, alright, we're at 11:51. Holy moly. Where has the time gone? I'll keep working for a few minutes here. I want to see through as much of this as I can. He's Sonic the Running Hedgehog. These are not the words to the song, I know. Sonic the Running Hedgehog. Sonic. Gotta go fast. Gotta go. No. Didn't go where I expected. Cool. Cool. Got that wrong. Okay, so getting everything smoothed out pretty well so far. So probably, since this is a highlight, I do want to confine the edge of this a little bit more than the shadow. Smooth you just a wee bit there, okay. Really just this one was gonna catch the light. I do always enjoy it, especially the ones where I do the streams or times when I sit down to do a piece and I'm taking the shading from the cell shading to the more smoothed out kind of, I call it painterly. I don't know if that's exactly the right name, but I like it. It's always so cool seeing it kind of transform in that way. Whee! Getting there. I need more shadow layers for some better contrast on the Eevee. Really to make it pop as much as I want it to. But I'm getting there. Wait, that's not what I wanted to do. That's what I was going for. Which part did you agree with? Sorry. On the more shadows, maybe? Gonna knock down my brush size a little bit here on the blend tool. A good mix of cell and soft shading works depending on the art style. Tend to lean more towards soft shading. Yeah, I agree. I think it depends on the application. You know, for comics and stuff, I'm gonna lean almost entirely on cell shading, because it's just so many panels, you know, and the eye does not sit on a comic panel for the most part. You know, you've got your big impactful panels that are gonna draw more, but like investing it in like a piece like this, that's a single piece or an illustration. When you're drawing or learning new art styles, you use cell a lot more frequently. Trying to find a good way to implement into your regular style for a nice pop. Yeah. So one thing I have had a little more luck with is using it in a second layer, an additional multiply layer, for like, especially for like the ambient occlusion shadow. So where things are touching directly, or where there's like a really clear but small blockage of light. So it gives you those extra areas of pop. And in terms of mixing the two, I think that's what I've settled on for the most part, where it works best. But that's just me. Oh, this is just a made up line. This is gonna be behind Eevee. But I'll go ahead and smooth it anyway while I'm in the business of doing that. All right. Okay. And if I put turns are down, put the foreground back on. Okay. I think what is kind of fun, one of the things I've noticed is that, you know, one of the things you hear is like, don't do pure gray shadows. Like, you should always add some sort of color for a little bit of extra definition, or for an extra bit of interest to your pieces. But then also I've heard some people give the advice of like, don't be afraid to use a lot of black. And I think comics and manga are really good examples of why that can work, where you just do your really hard shadows in all black basically as part of your inks layer, like your lines, and everything else can be pretty softly shaded. But the hard shadows, and it looks really good. I haven't been brave enough to do it. I get a little bit like, oh no, that's too dark, that's too much. But also I guess I tend to do things in a bit of a softer style, cartoonier, where you don't see that as much. Both is good. I agree. I also like trying new styles. I think it's been I play around with it sometimes, like sketching just for fun, like when I'm like on the phone, or stuff like that. I have like a sketchbook, Clip Studio, like book format file, that I'll use to sketch stuff. If I'm saying down like, okay, I don't have the brain power to work on a big project right now. But I want to do something. So I'll just kind of, it's like a sketchbook, and that's nice. I'll play with styles there as well. But then also it's like I'm trying to develop my style as well, in my voice for things, for the comics that I do. I'm actually excited. Our next project, I'm switching up my style a little bit, and that'll be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it because the tone of the book is just different. It's not as light and comic-y, so I'm excited for that. Oh, right, I have highlights on this layer, don't I? I do. I don't. No, I do. They're just right here. Ah, it's midnight already. Man. I'm gonna have to wrap soon, but I would like to try to at least finish smoothing everything out. I've got just the outside sky, shadows, and highlights after I do this. Those are fairly finite amounts. I'm trying to be good about ending around midnight these days, just because sleep is important. And when life gets busy, sleep always kind of suffers for it. So it's good to keep an eye on it, especially early in the year. Okay. Nope, wrong thing. There we go. That's what I was going for. Cool. That's too big. Laggy, I won't lie. It's super laggy right now. Interesting. Okay. You know, I did forget to reboot my router before I started, which has traditionally been a source of consternation. Fixed it for now? Okay. Well, we will be wrapping up here pretty shortly. Although, I'm a little bit in the zone, so that's a little bit hard to do, but I need to. I must. But I can't. But I must. Do that in a little bit. Also here. Give it a little more of a rim light feel. There we go. Come on. Okay, and just really right on here. And we're done. Look at that. Marvelous. Spectacular. Simply fantastic. Okay. Okay. I have to call it. I should call it. Because sleep and self-care are important. All right. Here's the deal. Here's where we're at. I think we're looking pretty good. I'm not calling this done. I will probably have to put in some work on this before I submit it. I like it, but I think it can pop even more. So what we're gonna see, here's what I'm thinking I'm gonna do. I'll probably end up doing a time lapse of it and tossing it over on Instagram. I'm gonna add a second shadow layer with mostly cell shading. I might smooth it at the edges for some, but to give a little more pop, and especially on the ambient occlusion areas, the darker shadow areas. I'm probably going to add some indigo into this night sky, blend it in a little bit, maybe not 100% consistently, but give a little variation, maybe even just a gradient. I think that would help things pop a little bit better. I'm going to also finally do the thing with this, where I'm going to add this, because I want this to be like it's dark, right? Eevee's inside the house at night looking out. So what you'll see is the highlight layers will still glow. So the highlight layers will be excluded from this multiply, but you'll see everything else take this kind of nighttime purpley tone as well. I don't think I'm going to add any like bright white, like sharp highlight layers, although I might do that occasionally. That's nice to add a little kind of, or even like the yellow, but as like a real, rim light type situation. And I guess I'm going to sign it. It feels weird. I still haven't gotten to the point where I'm like, yes, I'm an artist, I'm going to sign everything. It still feels like I'm being pretentious. Even though I don't think that about people who sign their work. I'm like, oh, cool. Yeah, you did that. That's awesome. Anyway, that's what I'm looking at. That's what I'm going to do. I will probably show that next Thursday at least. If not, throwing the time lapse up on Instagram or somewhere. YouTube maybe. I'm looking to make more YouTube videos. I just need time. Okay. But as I like to do at the end of our art sessions here, let's check out the time lapse because that's fun. This is the super fast version, by the way. We'll go through this once. And maybe we'll do the 30-second one just because, that's them's good TVs. Okay. This is a good place to wrap up. I'm gonna save. Always a good idea. Yeah. All right, cool. So, pretty happy. I was hoping to be more close to finishing, but I've still got almost a week to wrap this up and submit it. And I'm really excited to do that. I wanted to do this contest a couple years ago, but I just didn't have time in my art workflow, and I wasn't quite confident yet in what I could produce. And I've come a long way, and it's just about finishing pieces, right? You build the confidence, you grow. It's pretty awesome. So, all right, that was it for tonight. I plan on being back next week, same time, Thursday, 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. Yeah, that's the plan. I'll see you there. We're working on some cool educational comics right now with some of our creator friends, so you're gonna actually see us especially sharing those in our stories, and maybe posting some of those as well on our Instagram over there. Again, that's at WagWorksGA. We're everywhere with this handle. Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, X, although we don't really do anything there anymore. And also portfolio and some of our stories that we're working on our website, which is also just wagworksga.com. So You can find us there. Otherwise, I will see you guys here on Twitch next week. Thanks everybody for joining. Janos, it is always a pleasure. This lag is wild. It is always a pleasure talking to you. Lag or no lag, googly eyes or none. Thank you so much. If you're watching this on the VODs, watching us on YouTube, thank you. I appreciate your support. I love doing this. I love sharing it. And it's just, it's cool to find when people enjoy it. So thank you so much. I hope everybody just has a great night, a great rest of your week, and we'll see you soon. And by we, I mean I. See you all soon. Thanks, everybody. Good night.